Hello there. I thought I'd share some of the issues I'm having with inks and pens, and that has been ongoing for the last, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, I suppose. I'll start off with what I am currently using, which is this. This is the Pilot Pocket Brush. I think its name is Shunpitsu or something along those lines. Probably completely wrong. But this is a disposable brush pen. And I've been using these for the last, I don't know, 4 years, 4 years, up until recently when they were no longer available here in the UK. I was getting them imported from Norway, I believe. Well, seeing as they were no longer available, I returned to using the Pentel pocket brush pen, which is quite a popular pen when it comes to comic art. Unfortunately, I've in a recent 5 years or so, I haven't got on with them at all. The tips flooding generally, and also you can, I'm not sure if you can see it on here, but even the tips spreading out, you know, splaying out, not getting the fine line I want. It's just too erratic a pen for my liking. Anyway, I'll go back to this one in a while. This one is the one I've been using recently, as I say, the Pilot pocket brush. It's a rubber tipped brush. It's not a bristle tip. It's a rubber tip. And it's not felt either, like I say, it is a rubber tipped brush pen. I enjoy using this because you do get the variety of line width, as you do with not quite as much as you do with a bristle tip, but a good amount, more than you would with a fiber tip brush pen anyway. And when they stopped shipping them to the UK, like I said, I struggled with going back to the Pentel. I struggled with this pen. I refused to go back to brush and ink because it's just too much hassle, too messy. I like the idea of just grabbing the pen and getting to work. Anyway, I thought I'd share. Yeah, as I say, so it was no longer available. So what I chose to do was to refill, see if I could refill it, because these are disposable pens and they're not really refillable. And then one day when I was incredibly frustrated with the Pentel, I thought I'd have a look and I'll take it apart and see, you know, if they are refillable at all. And what I found out that, you know, Pilot will never suggest you do this. Pilot pens will never suggest you do this. So if you choose to do this, you know, it's probably not recommended. But I figured out how you take it apart, and it's not from the top of the bottom top, whatever, top of the barrel. It's from the brush end. So the actual rubber tip, if you grab, you've got the rubber tip, and then its casing, I suppose, that just pops off like that. Now, when you're doing this, make sure the pen is empty, because you can get ink everywhere. Now, the first time I did this, what I did was I took this top off and I dropped it all in water, because the original ink that's in this pen is water soluble ink, not Indian ink. So, but I'm not going to do that today because it will just go on for too long. And on the end here is I'm going to say a wooden feed that goes down through the barrel, or into the barrel, into the reservoir, which I'll show you in a second. and that you feel that reservoir when you take this out. So, and this is the hard bit. This is the difficult bit, and this is where you can ruin your pen or not. And I'm going to try and find a better instrument to take these apart. Pliers aren't very forgiving, and I know you can get jewelry makers pliers that aren't ribbed along the grabbing end, if you like. Anyway, if you look into the tip here, you got the feed, the wooden feed, and then that goes into a hole here. And what I found is, if you grab hold of, you have to be very careful here, because you can damage the pen. Mind you, these are disposable pens. I do have a bunch of these. I've got 15, 20 of these, and I've gone through quite a few. I've ruined quite a few doing this. So just be warned, because pliers, as I say, aren't very forgiving when it comes to plastic. Anyway, and what I found is if you turn it slightly, you can hear it's coming. But you have to put quite a bit of pressure. There we go. Quite a bit of pressure and quite a bit of force. And you do eventually, you can't keep doing this, because it will eventually, the pliers anyway, will damage this end, this plastic end. Anyway, as I was saying, now this hole comes out. I'm not going to put it all out. Well, okay, I will. I don't want to get ink everywhere. This comes out carefully, like that. There you go. So this is your plastic reservoir. If you're going to refill these, wash it out with water, or just get some tissue, kitchen roll, and jam it down the hole and dry it out. Just get the ink out, because you don't want to be mixing inks really. But as I said, I've washed this end, the feed. If you can see that. Where are we? There we go. I've washed this before. I've washed it out and then refilled the pens. Once you've refilled it, you push it back in carefully. As I say, you will get ink everywhere, so don't do this over your carpets or nice furniture, or nice clothes for that matter. Right, once you got it back into there, again, you're going to require force to push it in. There you go, and it clicks. You have to make sure it clicks, otherwise it won't be sealed, and when you come to use it or put it down, ink will flow everywhere. Anyway, now then with the tip, if you look in the hole, I don't know if you can see, you probably can't, there is a hole that feeds into the rubber tip, and you have to get it in there, because if you don't get it in there, sometimes you have to do it, push it on while spinning, so it doesn't catch, so it's a smooth entry. Yeah, you don't want to just jam it in, because because the end will pop out. Anyway, so push it on and spin, and then you get in. But even still, it's still slightly pushed the rubber tip out. You'll know when you do it, and so then you just take it off again and try it again slowly, because you don't want the tip to be pushed out. Well, that'll do for now. You get the idea. And then that's it, that's in. Now when it comes to, and then as I say, Pilot would not recommend this. These are disposable pens. They're not refillable pens. These are disposable. But because I enjoy using these pens so much, I've, like I said, found a way to refill them. Now, when it comes to refilling them, bear with me, just going to get a drink of water. When it comes to refilling these pens, there's no advice online for this, because, as I said, these are disposable pens, so you won't find any advice. So you really do have to wing it at this point. Now, at the time I first tried this, I was fortunate enough to have a bottle of this Koh-I-Noor Ultradraw ink. Now, I was using this to refill my pen towels, the cartridges, because the cartridges can get quite expensive. So I was using this Ultradraw ink to refill the cartridges in the pen towel brush pens. So I decided I'd use this Ultradraw ink, and it seemed to work very well with bristle pens, but this is a totally different type of pen. This isn't, I'm assuming the feeds are totally different into the tips of the pen. Anyway, so I filled this pen with this ink, and for a year or so I had no issues whatsoever, and it was an absolute joy to use. No blockages, no smudging, no, it dried quickly, and it's perfect. The pen and the ink worked in harmony, if you like. And slowly but surely, this ink, so after having the issues of this pen no longer being available in the UK, this ink suddenly became unavailable in the UK. I don't know if that was a worldwide issue. I don't know if it's still available in the States or not, but for whatever reason, I could not get any of this in the UK. And this went on for a good 5 months, I suppose, 4 months. And then eventually, up until recently, I would say, it was suddenly again available on Amazon. And because it had worked in this pen for over a year with no issues, and I will point out quickly as well, the reason why I love this pen is you get the variety of line widths, not as much as a bristle pen. I will add, it's not as wide. You don't get a massively wide line, but it's flexible. It's much more flexible than a fiber tip. It's rubber, so it's very flexible. What was I going to say? Yeah, that was what it was. I loved using this pen, and like I say, for the last year or two, this pen, the Pilot pocket brush with Koh-I-Noor Ultradraw ink, worked like a dream, and I loved it. I found the pen for life, if you like. And when this pen was no longer available, and I refilled it with this ink, everything was hunky dory. When it stopped, when they stopped supplying this ink in the UK, I had to find an alternative. I tried getting it. There's something to do with shipping as well. I'm not sure what's going on. You know, that tattoo ink apparently has same issues getting that imported from other countries. I'm not sure if that was the reasoning behind the shortage, but anyway. So I then went on to this Rotring ink, and these are for isograph pens and things like that. And this ink is what I've been using for the last 3 or 4 months, I suppose, and it works to a degree. Now, I have this pen here, which is what I've been using recently, which has been I've refilled with the Rotring ink. Now, what I'm finding is initially it works very well. It's a lovely deep black ink that works quite well in this pen to a point. What I have found is, I don't know if it's because of the consistency because these are pigment-based inks. The Ultradraw is a pigment-based ink, and the Rotring is a pigment-based ink. They are both pigment-based inks. Now, I'm not sure if the Rotring ink, the pigments are aren't as fine, because they're particles in the ink, which gives it the blackness, the colour. So I'm not sure if the particles in a Rotring ink are bigger, because what tends to happen is you occasionally get a blockage, and the pen just it's like when the felt tip runs dry, it will just suddenly start to dry up. And I also notice around the tip of the brush, the rubber tip, well, not the tip, sorry, around the fat body of the tip, I can see a build up, and sometimes you have to, you know, drag it off if you can. What I might end up having to do is every so often wash the tip out, maybe. I think that just get out any dried ink, that might solve the issue. It's just a bit of a palaver though, I'd have to say. I never had this issue with Ultradraw ink. So that's what's been happening recently with the ink. So I've been using the Rotring, which has its issues. Now, like I say, I saw this was readily available again on Amazon 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a month. And me being an idiot, I ordered 5 bottles, and then had a long think and decided to order another 5 bottles. So I ordered 10 bottles of this because I thought, well, that's a good 5 years worth of ink. I've got a good 5-10 years worth of pens, 5 years worth of ink. You know, that's an artist's dream. You don't have to worry about, you know, your pens or your inks. You've got that covered for the next 5 years. Anyway, it turned up, and when my pen ran out or needed a refill, instead of using a Rotring ink, I decided because I've got my Ultradraw ink back, I thought I'll fill it with Ultradraw. And I have not got a clue what they've done with this ink. It's meant to be a rich black India ink that is suitable for fountain pens and the like, even airbrushes and things like that. And as I said, I up until the last 5-6 months, I had that in this pen, and it was a joy. Well, now I filled up this old Pentel with the ink just to show you, because I have got another one of these pilots filled up with this ink, but I can't find it at the moment. The ink they've put in this new Ultradraw ink is I'm not sure how well you can see that. Bearing in mind, it's probably still got some of the old Rotring ink in there. Well, you can see. You can see it's grey. It's a light, well, yeah, a light grey once it dries. So, and it never used to be like that. I would actually go as far as to say it used to be darker than the Rotring ink. It was a jet black ink, and it, as I said, it used to go through the pen beautifully. No blockages, no nothing. You can see there, it's pale, watered. So I've had that on the radiator. 5 bottles. I did manage to send 5 bottles of this back, but I've had this on the radiator. Well, 5 bottles of this sitting on the radiator for the last 3 weeks to evaporate the water content, so it gets to a darker black. And so far, it's still just like this. So what they've done with it, I do not know. I would point out as well, the other issue I have with this Rotring ink is I'll do it here. When you've inked, obviously you want to rub out your pencils. It comes off on your finger. It leaves a almost not a powdery residue, but it's very much like those micron pens that once you've done your drawing, you've done your page, you've done your pin up or whatever you've done, and then you rub out the pencils and it rubs out part of the ink, so it's a grey line rather than the jet black line. It's exactly the same with this Rotring ink. I don't know if it's something to do with isograph pen ink or isograph, well, yeah, pen inks. It just seems to be the thing. Which is why I used to love the Ultradraw ink, because you could rub it out or rub out the pencils and it was still as jet black as when it went down. So that's that. I have tried other pens, many other pens, expensive ones like this one, with the carbon ink, an empty carbon ink, I would add. I've got one somewhere, again I can't find it, with a platinum converter, platinum carbon ink. I've tried this ink in the pens, Zig Black Ink 60, Kuretake Black Ink 60. That blocks up this pens anyway. It blocks up the pilot, so I can't use that. It dries even quicker than the Rotring. I might try this Dr. Martens, PH Martens. I used to use this when I used to brush and ink, and this I found was the best for brush and ink. I might have to order some of that and then see what that's like in a pen, but I'm going through so many pens trying different inks. I could give this Frisk drawing ink a go, and there's obviously Higgins Black Magic ink. I've got so many different inks. I've tried so many different pens, just trying to get that. I had the perfect pen with the perfect ink, and like I said, that no longer was available, and I sorted that issue out by refilling it, and it worked for over a year until Koh-I-Noor. They've changed the recipe, the ingredients of this ink. I don't know what they've done, but it's not the same ink. If you have any ideas of what I can use to fill it, I don't know if it's because it's a pigment-based ink, and maybe I need a water-based dyed ink to do this, to fill these pens, because they are, I'm assuming, effectively the same as a felt pen with the you know, the feed. It's not like not like a fountain pen, or even, you know, a brush pen with a cartridge. I don't know what the feed is into the brush itself, but as I showed you when I opened this one up, it's bamboo, possibly. It could be bamboo, a sliver of bamboo that feeds the brush tip, and maybe having something with particles in the ink blocks that up. I don't know. I'm not a pen manufacturer, so any advice would be great. Other than that, I've shown you how to open up these pens and refill them. Oh yeah, you refill them once you've opened them up. Make sure you refill them with a syringe. Once you've taken the tips off and the feed, you fill it up, and then start at the bottom. Don't push the tip at the top and then just start squirting ink in, because it'll just somehow it creates a vacuum and just spurts out the end. You have to push the needle down to the bottom and then fill it up there, and then because it's a clear, you'll see it fill up. But don't fill it up past this ridge as well. This ridge here is where the whole feed is, and if you fill it up to, say, you know, up to there, and then you go to push your feed in, it will just, the ink will need somewhere to go, and it'll just flood out. So fill it up to the black line there with whatever ink you choose. You may have better success and better choices of ink than I do. Yeah, but fill it to there, not up here. It will flood out. Like I say, if you try it and you find an ink that works, you know, because it will. This pen will work. With the Rotring ink, it will work, and I can use it for. It's temperature dependent as well. It's so strange. It's temperature dependent. I can use this pen all morning, and then come the afternoon, I don't know if it's because it's been exposed or open, you know, and like a felt pen, they dry out when their tips are off. Most pens dry out when the tips are off, but you get my point. Maybe it's that, I don't know. It never had, like I said, it never happened with the Ultradraw. The Ultradraw ink worked with this pen like a dream up until, oh, I will say as well, the Ultradraw ink, it hasn't got it on this bottle, but all my other bottles over there have got it. It's got 2024 written on it. So February, I think it's February or January 2024. So if that's the batch you get, or you have, like I say, if your batch is fine, the chances are it doesn't say February or January 2024. It's probably got a different date on it. But anything with January or February 2024, for some reason, is a grey wash ink. It's not a Black India ink, as it states on there, which is why I'm using a rotary, but it has its issues. Anyway, as I said, if you have any ideas, do you know a deep black waterproof dye ink that works in this kind of pen, let me know. I'm eager to try anything, but I can't keep trying it because I'm running out of pens, and inks and pens aren't the cheapest in the world, especially this day and age when everything seems to be going up in price, including paper. Anyway, if you have any advice, any ideas on good quality waterproof jet black ink that will work in this pen and doesn't rub out when you need to rub out the pencil lines, let me know. Anyway, until the next one, I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.